चिदानन्दरूपम् गुणातीतमानं चिदानन्दरूपम् चिदाभासतं सर्वगं ध्यानगम्यम् मुनिर्ध्येयमाकाशरूपं परेशं परब्रह्मरूपं गणेशं भजेम परब्रह्मरूपं गणेशं भजेम. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Namaste. Welcome to session 71 of Bhagavad Gita verse by verse. In today's session, we will take up verses 11 to 15, in which we see Arjuna explaining the glory of Ishvara Swarupa of Krishna. At the end of class, we will have chanting of these verses. Now, it's time for a brief revision of previous 5 verses we studied in our last class. Dr. Komal Prasad will take us through these verses. Over to you, Dr. Komal, sir.
Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Cause alone manifests in the form of effect. Karyam does not exist separate from Karanam. Ishvara manifests as universe, and universe does not exist independent of Ishvara. This is Vibhuti Darshanam. The word Vibhuti means manifestation. This is the transformation in us Krishna wants us to bring. Right from 7th chapter onwards, up to the first 11 verses of 10th chapter, Krishna concentrates on this, bringing this transformation in us. Sri Krishna gives us the definition of God. And what is that? Swami Paramarthananda says, do not say God is creator and stop. You have to say that God is the creator and also He is the material out of which the creation has come. And as we recently saw in Mundaka Upanishad, Yatorna Nabhi, just as a spider, which is an intelligent cause of the web, it's also the raw material also of the web. Similarly, Ishvara is both the Paraprakriti, the intelligent cause, and Aparaprakriti, the material cause. In Sanskrit, we use the technical phrase, Abhinna Nimitta Upadana Karanam. And Krishna says, not only the external world is my manifestation, Maharshaya Saptapurve Chatvaro Manavastata. Also, the internal world of thoughts are my manifestation. Just as during the dream, my own mind manifests as the Charachara Swapna Prapancha. What's a mountain in dream? My own mind is the mountain. And if somebody is climbing the mountain, I am the climber also. And while climbing the mountain, if the climber drinks some water, I am the drinker also. I am the water also. Just as I myself manifest as everything in the dream world, similarly, the Lord Himself is both Bahya and Antara Prapancha. And Krishna says, those who appreciate this fact is a Virat Bhakta or Vishwarupa Bhakta. And for such a Bhakta, God is not in the temple alone. He sees the Lord everywhere. In the next slide, we see that Krishna says, you do not require miracles to appreciate Ishvara Vibhuti. Every event in creation is the glory of Ishvara. That I am able to open my mouth and talk is Ishvara Vibhuti. That you are able to hear is Ishvara Vibhuti. Transformation of the world. There's the transformation of the perspective of the world. And what is this transformation? Instead of looking the world as a world, I should learn to look at the world as manifestation of Ishvara. Just as I do not forget the goldness when I am appreciating different gold ornaments. So we note 2 things, cause and effect, Karanam and Karyam. One is potential, other is manifest. Just as this elephant in water partly visible outside, one is perceptible, other is inferable. Vyakta, Avyakta. Vibhuti and Yoga. Universe and Bhagavan. In this chapter, Krishna wants us to recognize universe, the manifest perceptible effect as glory of Bhagavan. Glory and power. One perceptible effect and other inferable cause. He who knows this is blessed with unshaken knowledge. There is no doubt about it. And such a Virat Bhakta is described by Krishna in these verses. Every plant, insect, every star, every tree, river, everything evokes devotion in their mind. And naturally, if at all, Such bhaktas want to talk with people. They do not want to talk about this and that. They would only love to talk about higher things. Having enjoyed such higher things, the mind cannot come down. They cannot discuss mundane things. As we see in the next slide, fixing the mind and senses on me, mutually sharing the knowledge about me and speaking of me, they are always contented and delighted. Machitta, their mind is always fixed on me. They cannot lose sight of me. Madgata prana, prana here means sense organs. They are never away from the presence of Lord. And if they talk also, parasparam bodhayanta, mutually they can never discuss mundane politics of fights, gossip, hatred. They are so cheap for them. They do not want to spend their valuable time on such petty topics. They discuss only these higher things. Parasparam bodhayanta. Katayanta cha. If they want to educate their children, they would like to give such an education to elevate the mind to see what is not physically perceptible, but what can be appreciated by only a mature mind. And what is the advantage of that? Look at this group of pilgrims doing parikrama around Kailasa Parvata. They revel in their appreciation of this higher fact. And there is contentment, fulfillment, sushanticha, ramanticha. In family friends, there may be failures. And in professional friends, there may be failures. But as long as this appreciation is there, you never look upon your life as a failure. This will make the life a success. Even if there are failures in other fronts, there is fulfillment that I'm able to appreciate the Lord. And not only fulfillment, Ramanticha, they revel in that appreciation. They are grateful to the Lord that they have got a sensitive mind to appreciate this. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Komal, for giving us a very nice summary of the key verses that we studied in the last class. Sadashiva Samarambam Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam. Om. We have completed the study of the first 10 verses of the 10th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, and today we study from the 11th chapter, 11th verse onwards of the 10th chapter. Adi Shankara, who's written a commentary on the Bhagavad Gita, has said that these first 10 verses or first 11 verses are the summary of the entire Bhagavad Gita. That is the importance that he has given. And therefore, if we have missed something of the glory of these verses, it is worth looking back into them to see how what we have learned and how we can progress from what we have learned from the first 10 verses as we start the 11th verse. A few aspects about our own selves. I am certain about one thing. I am conscious because I can see, I can hear, I can relate to everything around the world. And in Sanskrit, for the word for consciousness is chit. That means there is chit or consciousness in me. I know for certain I am existent. To prove that I am there, I don't need anybody, any doctor, any expert to say I am there. One thing I'm absolutely convinced of, I am both Sat, I am existent, and I am Chit. The world around me is also existent. I can feel an existent table, an existent camera, existent computer. Everything around me is existent. And as I look around the world, and especially if I go to some heights or if I see something vast, one thing is certain, this world is ananta. There is really no limit to this world because this world itself is so vast. And I know this world is only a small dot in the entire cosmos. And if I look around, I can experience absolute limitlessness or anantatvam in the world around me. But when I look at my own self, I identify with this body-mind complex, I experience limitation. I know, I feel I am small and everything around me is big. And because I'm small and I'm not able to accept that limitation, I want to grow, I want to be more rich, I want to be more famous, I want to be more accomplished, I want to have more, because that is the want of everyone, that I want to grow, I want to become big as possible. And the real limit is, sky is the limit. I want to experience my limitlessness. So this is the disparity. I experience limitations. I want to become limitless. What do all our scriptures and great masters say? Scriptures and great masters say our true nature, whatever I called as Sat Chit, is also Ananda, which is actually Anantatvam. My true nature is Sat Chit Ananta. This is what all masters say. This is what our scriptures say. But what is my experience? I know I am Sat, I am Chit. In a way, I am 60% or 66%, 66.6% of the nature of Bhagwan. Bhagwan is limitless. I am only 66.6%, and I want to be Purna. I want to be complete. The next big question I want to ask everyone who's listening: when do I experience this limitation? At what moment in my life do I experience limitation? And the answer for those who have been into Vedanta know one thing very clearly. The moment I wake up, the moment I wake up from my sleep, the moment I identify with this body, when my mind wakes up, I experience an identification with this body-mind. I know for certain that this is me, the rest is not me. This is Atma, the other is all Anatma. And therefore, I experience limitations. So the moment I wake up, the moment I identify with my mind, I experience limitations. So where is my problem? My problem really is with my mind, because when I am asleep, watch anybody who is asleep. This is something you need to do. It may be somebody in the street in a busy traffic. He may not have any possessions in the world, or even in a hospital. It may be a person in an ICU. He may not have much time to survive, but he's sleeping. He's snoring. At that moment, the person has no limitations whatsoever. There is no anxiety. There is no fear. There is no any problems whatsoever when a person is fast asleep. The moment he wakes up, the mind is born. And once the mind is born, all the problems and all forms of limitations come into being. Now, once I identify this is the problem, now how do I work on my mind? The question is, to work on my mind, I have to use my mind. That means I have to learn how to use my mind to go beyond my mind. It is a kind of a suicide that, my mind has to work against my mind. And is this possible? The answer is essentially we have reached a roadblock. We have reached a roadblock, and that is the stage that we have come in the 10th verse of the 10th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. In the 10th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavan steps in. He says, once you have become a vishwa, rupa, ishvara, bhakta, God comes and he says, from now on, you are my bhakta. Once you are a vishwa, rupa, ishvara. Now, a vishwa, rupa, ishvara bhakta is not an ordinary bhakta. An ordinary bhakta is called an artha bhakta or an artharthi bhakta. Artha means I'm in difficulties. Bhagavan, I'm in serious trouble. Please help me out. I have no face to show the world. I'm in deep financial problems or in a deep medical problem, or someone in my family is seriously ill and I can't accept this. Please help me. That is an artha. And artharthi is one who has made a lot of investment into the world, either financially or whatever. And he wants his projects to go on. And he's deeply hoping that God will support. And these are the two kinds of ordinary form of people who are struggling in the world. Whenever we have in this, we are still ekarupa bhaktas. A Vishwarupa Bhakta is now gone to the root cause of samsara. The root cause of samsara is solving each of these problems. More problems are going to come, and I have to find the root cause. And the root cause is ajnanam. I do not know my true nature. I need God or my guru to reveal my true nature. This is where I need to be an unconditional vishwa, rupa, ishvara, bhakta. What really Krishna wants us to be? From now on, I am in total acceptance with whatever I have, my own body and mind limitations, the limitations of my family, the limitations of my possessions, the limitations of my job. Whatever experience as limitations, if I'm able to be in acceptance, there is no situation that I am fighting with. There is no person that I'm fighting with. This is what makes Vishwarupa Ishvara so difficult. I need to be able to accept even those difficult people in my life who are the cause of all my problems, whom at least I see as the cause of all my problems. If I'm able to accept them as a Vibhuti of the Lord. Now, this is the challenge. Once I'm able to do that, then I realize now I become a Virat or a Vishwarupa Bhakta. This is the stepping stone for our Rupa Bhakti. From now on, really everything I welcome without resistance. I know all my stress is because I've not been able to accept whatever I have been subject to. If I'm able to willingly accept every situation, every person, every object as a Vibhuti of the Lord, as God's will, then this is true devotion. My mind is now sensitized, and such a sensitized mind is now receptive for Arupa Ishvara Jnanam. The last verse that we studied, the key word is Tesham, those people. Who are those people? Vishwarupa Ishvara Bhakta. What qualities do they have? Satata Yuktanam Bhajatam Priti Purvakam. All the time with devotion, they have now become a Vishwarupa Ishvara Bhakta. Krishna makes this a promise. That's why the Bhagavad Gita is scripture. And I have Shraddha Dadami. I am going to give you Buddhi Yogam. Tam ena mam upayanti. Upayanti means you will come close to me. You will become one with me. You will be able to get that. So Bhagwan has made that promise, and we will look into the next verse. This is important to understand, and this is in and through all chapters of the Bhagavad Gita, that if you have to develop real devotion, a bhakta should know Bhagwan. That jnanam that we need to have, the essential nature. And this essential nature will be revealed to us once we become a Vishwarupa Ishvara Bhakta. Another important verse related to the previous verse, the 10th verse, will be explained to us by Dr. Anupama. Over to you.
Shri Gurubhyo Namaha, verse 11. Tesham anukampartham aham ajnanam tamaha ajnanajam tamaha nashayami atma bhavastho jnana deepena bhasvataha. Here, Krishna says he will bless the Virat or Vishwarupa Jignasu Bhakta with Advaita Jnanam, which will destroy his ignorance and samsara. Two questions are answered here. First, what is the benefit of this Jnanam or Buddhi Yoga? Second, what is the obstacle that stands between this Bhakta and Bhagwan? First, the benefit of Buddhi Yoga. Seeing this Virat Bhakta struggling in the ocean of samsara, Krishna, out of compassion, Anukamparthena, says that he will destroy Nashayami, both ignorance, Ajnanam, and delusion, Ajnanajam Tamaha, with the Jnanam of Arupa Ishvara or Aham Brahma Asmi Iti Jnanam, because Jnanat Eva Kaivalyam. How does Krishna destroy Ajnanam? He says, Aham Atmanaha Bhavataha Staha. By remaining in the mind or antakarana of this Jignasu Virat Bhakta, who now feels no limitation because his sattvic mind dwells in Aham Brahma Asmi Iti Jnanam, which is called Akhandakara or Brahmakara Vritti. Krishna as the original consciousness is now reflected in this Akhandakara Vritti. The reflected consciousness or Pratibimba Chaitanyam formed is Atma Bhasvata. When Vritti is associated with this Atma Bhasvata, it becomes Jnanam. It is this Jnanam that destroys Ajnanam. What is the obstacle that stands between this bhakta and Bhagavan? Tamaha or ignorance, the false notion that I am different from Bhagavan. How does Krishna remove this obstacle? Jnana Deepena Bhasvata, by lighting the lamp of knowledge. A lamp is often compared to knowledge because just as a lamp needs an enclosure, knowledge needs vairagyam or detachment. A lamp needs an oil holder, jnanam needs the mind. A lamp needs oil, jnanam needs Ishvara Prasada. A lamp needs a wick, knowledge needs intelligence, prajna or medha shakti. The light of the lamp or deepa is compared to the akhandakara vritti or brahmakara vritti, which is a feeling of limitlessness which comes from aham brahma asmi iti jnanam. The brilliance or deepa prabha is compared to atma bhasvataha, the reflection of the original consciousness in this akhandakara vritti as the pratibimba chaitanya. A favorable wind keeps the flame glowing. Similarly, jnana or Ishvara Jnana Ichcha facilitates acquisition of knowledge. An unfavorable wind puts off the flame, just as Raga Dvesha, Kama Krodha are obstacles in the path of knowledge. A wick should be well soaked with a sharp tip and perhaps coated with camphor. A bhakta, similarly, should possess virtues like chitta shuddhi, chitta ekagrita, ahimsa, amanitvam, adambitvam, etc. Finally, lighting of the lamp is comparable to Shravana, Manana, and Nidithyasana. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Anupama, for giving us a very complete explanation of this verse based on a very elaborate explanation by Swamiji based on Shankara Bhashyam. All these comparisons between Deepa and knowledge come from Gudhartha Deepika of Madhusudana Saraswati, as well as Shankara Bhashyam, which our teacher Swami Paramatmananda. That is why I would request students again and again when we are studying these verses to be able to study the Shankara Bhashyam as explained by Swamiji, because suddenly you will see where Adi Shankara gives a lot of importance. He says that these first 11 verses of the Bhagavad Gita are the summary of the entire 700 verses of the Bhagavad Gita. Now look at the word Tesham. Who is this Tesham? I have highlighted Tesham in red. Tesham refers to those people. Who are those people? Now those people should be we people. We people, those of us who have moved from Artha and Artharthi Bhakta, from Eka Rupa to Aneka Rupa or Vishwa Rupa Ishvara Bhakta. Right now, I am now able to see, thanks to this question by Arjuna on this Vibhuti, to be able to see everything in this world as God. If I'm able to see every person, including the difficult people in my life, every difficulty in my life, every situation, every object, if I'm able to see as Bhagwan, I have come to from Artha Artharthi to a Jignasu Bhakta. Now, once I am a Jignasu Bhakta and I am in this state, now the next moment is not going to be my effort. That ignorance, which is preventing me from identifying with the Lord, that tamaha that is there in me, that which is the root cause of all samsara. Shri Krishna says, I will light the lamp in your heart, in your own mind. And trust me, this is what Sri Krishna says, that he will dispel this ignorance. Having given us this promise, we come to the next important verse, which will be explained to us by Karthik, where Arjuna is going to ask Sri Krishna his question. Over to you, Karthik.
Till now, Krishna said, I am the Jagat Karana, that I alone generate the internal world of emotions as well as the external world. And I alone make up the internal and the external worlds. Thus, he summarized Vishwarupa Darshana. Krishna has also indicated Vishwarupa Bhakti here. Further, Krishna also gave the benefit of Vishwarupa Bhakti for Vishwarupa Jignasu Bhakta and said, I will give Advaita Gnanam. Thus, the Jignasu Bhakta progresses from Aneka Rupa Bhakti to Arupa Bhakti or Advaita Bhakti, which leads him to Atma Gnanam and Samsara Nivritti or Moksha. So, not only the 10th and 11th chapters are summarized in the previous 11 shlokas, but the entire Gita for that matter. And having heard Bhagavan's creative power or yoga and this manifestation or Vibhuti, Arjuna wants to practice Vishwarupa Upasana as a stepping stone for Advaita Gnana. Arjuna says you have two aspects, Saguna and Nirguna. I want to know and understand your Nirguna Tattva through Saguna Rupa. Next slide, Doctor. And for this Vishwarupa Upasana or Dhyana, Arjuna asks for an appropriate set of symbols or alambanas, because any upasana requires an alambana, and every alambana is called Ishvara Vibhuti. For example, as you can see, Himalaya is a Vibhuti. It becomes the alambana for Vishwarupa Dhyana. Likewise, a cow is Ishvara Vibhuti, and it becomes an alambana for Vishwarupa Dhyana. For that matter, our own intelligence is a Vishwara Vibhuti, and it becomes an alambana for Vishwarupa Dhyana. Next slide, Doctor. So this shloka describes the Paraprakriti and Aparaprakriti of the Bhagavan. That is the gist of the shloka. Arjuna first glorifies the Lord, and he is going to make his request later on in shlokas 16 to 18. Later, when we see every glory as the expression of God, it becomes the appreciation of Virat. This helps in the expansion of the mind. The shloka goes, Arjuna Uvacha, Param Brahma Parandhama, Pavitram Paramam Bhavan, Purusham Shashvatam Divyam, Adi Devam Ajam Vibhum. Next slide, Doctor. We'll take it line by line. The first line says, Param Brahma Parandhama, Pavitram Paramam Bhavan. Bhavan means you're the revered one. This implies bhakti. Now, the difference between love and bhakti is there is this element of respect and reverence in bhakti. Not that it is not there in love, but it complements, it supplements as well. Love, when it is for Ishvara, involves a certain sense of awe, adoration, surrender, and looking up to a higher power. This appreciation and respect is implied in bhakti. So Arjuna is addressing Krishna as Bhavan with all this in his mind. The next word is Param Brahma. You are none other than Nirguna Brahma, appearing as Saguna Ishvara. You are not a born avatara or Mr. Krishna, subject to birth and death, but you are Nirguna Brahma. Param means beyond Karya and Karana, equal to Paramatma. Parandhama. Parandhama is used here in the sense of light. As light helps you to see things, so too is this light of all lights, the light of consciousness. Arjuna says you are the source of all consciousness and you are consciousness itself. Another meaning of Dhama in the sense of abode, like in Chardham. Arjuna says you are the most exalted and end, reaching which there is no further goal or end possible or necessary. The next word is Paramam Pavitram. You are the holiest of the holies. And just like a prasada, a normal ladu does not have this holiness, but when it is given as a prasada, it becomes holy by association. Further, Pavitram also means Pavanam, purifier. Paramam Pavitram means the greatest purifier, the purifier of all. The next slide, Doctor. Purusham Shashvatam Divyam Adidevam Ajam Vibhu. Purusha actually has two meanings. We'll encounter Purusha a lot. One meaning is which fills up everything, therefore all pervading. Another meaning is one who dwells the body. Puru means body, Shaha means resident, Purusha means resident of the body. So you are the resident in every human body. And as an aside, thus these two derivations of Purusha reveal Jivatma Paramatma Aikya. The next word is Shashvatam. You are the eternal one, because when we say Lord is residing in the body, we may conclude when the body goes, Bhagavan also goes away. No. The Nitya Ishvara is inside the Anitya Sharira. The next word is Divya, means Chetana Tattva. The body, sense organs, and mind are inert and are functioning only because of this Chaitanya. Swayam Prakasha Swarupaha, self-evident consciousness. In fact, when a person runs out of adjectives, we just say Divya, which means divine. Adi Devam. You are the primal God who was existent before all the Devatas, including Brahmaji. You are the cause or the creator of all the other Devatas. Ajaha. If Brahma is born out of Vishnu, we can ask from whom Vishnu is born out of. Therefore, he says Ajaha. Vishnu himself does not have any Janma because Vishnu is Anadi Brahman. Therefore, Ajaha is birthless or Janmarahita. Vibhuhu. There is no need to go any particular place to see you. You're everywhere. Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you, Karthik, for a nice explanation of this verse, where Swamiji, in his explanation of this verse, brings in Namakam and Chamakam. Now, Arjuna has a very important request. It is like when somebody has told you the entire detailed explanation, but then you have missed the key point, and then you're telling the person to repeat it once again. In the 7th chapter and in the 9th chapter, Krishna again and again has spoken about his Vibhutis. He has spoken about Rasoham Apsu Kaunteya, the brilliance of the sun and the moon. Everything is me. About that, he has mentioned both in the 7th and in the 9th chapter. But Arjuna now wants a more detailed elaboration on the Lord's Vibhuti. And before he makes that chamakam, that request, chame, I want this, he is praising the Lord. O Param Brahma, you are, the word Param comes again and again. Param Dhamma, Pavitram, Purusham, and so on. So from now on, you will see a lot of beautiful references to the Lord in these verses, which will continue in the next verse, which will be explained to us by Vani. Over to you, Vani.
Hello, Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. This is the 13th verse of 10th chapter. Ahustvam rishaya sarve devarshirnaradatha asito devalo vyasaha swayam chaiva bravishime. This verse is the continuation of the previous verse. We saw Arjuna praising, glorifying Krishna as, O revered one, you are the limitless Brahman, the light of all lights, the most purifying, that is Param Brahma, Parandama, Pavitram, Paramam. In this verse, Arjuna says, Ahustvam Rushayaha Sarve. Ahuhu is speak. All the great Rishis speak about you, talk about you in the same manner as Param Brahma, Parandama, Pavitram, Paramam. There are so many Rishis at different times and different locations, but all of them talk about the same truth. There is a famous statement, Ekam Sat Vipra Bahuda Vadanti, which means the truth is the one, and wise people talk about it in different ways. So here Arjuna is saying, so many Rishis, Munis are talking about you as Param Brahma, Parandama, Pavitram, Param. All Rishis who express the truth speak the same truth. Rishis does not mean he should live in a forest with jata, white beard, and orange robes. He has nothing to do with external appearances or condition. It is purely an internal condition. It is about knowledge. One who has gnanam or knowledge is a rishi. Rishis are seers. They're mantra drashtaha, seers of the truth. They have experienced the truth directly. Ahustvam Rishayah Sarve, all the Rishis speak about the same truth about you as Param Brahma, Parandama, Pavitram, Paramam Pavitram. Next is Devarshi Naradastata. So Devarshi Narada is also speaking about you in the same way. Those who are Devatas and Rishis are called Devarshis. Those who are kings and Rishis are called Rajarshi. Those who are Brahmana and also Rishis are called Brahmarshi. So here Arjuna says Devarshi Narada also talks about you in the same way. And we know Narada is one of the most popular Devarshi. Narada is a great Rishi and a Devata who is constantly thinking and reveling in the glories of Bhagavan. Naran is Dadati iti Narada. Naram means knowledge. One who gives the knowledge of Bhagavan is Narada. So the great Narada also speaks about you in the same manner as Param Brahma, Parandama. Asito Devalo Vyasaha. He mentions some more names of Rishis. Asita is a Rishi mentioned in scriptures, and Devala is the son of Asita. And Vyasaha. Vyasa is also saying the same truth about you. Vyasa is a great Rishi. He classified the Vedas into 4 groups: Rig Veda, Yajur Veda, Sama Veda, and Atharvana Veda. He has also authored Mahabharata and Brahma Sutras. Brahma Sutra explains Upanishads, which reveal Brahman. Such great Rishis like Narada, Asita, Devala, Vyasa, everyone speak about you as a Param Brahma, Parandhama. Swayam Chaiva Brevishime. Not only the great Rishis speak about you in this manner, you yourself have revealed your true nature. You are the ultimate authority. In the one of the previous verses, Krishna says, Aham Sarvasya Prabhavaha Matta Sarvam Pravartate. I am the originator of this entire creation. Everything is pervaded by me and everything functions because of me. And so many other chapters also we have seen Krishna saying about him in the same manner, like Matta Parataram Nanyat. So many verses are there. And so here you yourself have declared that as your Param Brahma Parandama. Arjuna says, I have full faith in you. You will never mislead me. Other people may or may not give me the right knowledge. So Arjuna is glorifying Krishna as Param Brahma, Parandama, Paramam Pavitram, Purusham, Shashvatam, Divyam, Adidevam, Ajam, and Vibhu. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Vani, for explaining this verse, because in this verse and in the continuation up to verse 18, Arjuna is praising the Lord because he has that one request: Lord, I want you to repeat what you have already said. Can I have your Vibhutis once again? A Vibhuti is an object on which I can contemplate. It's like the country is so vast, I cannot refer to the entire country. But if you can give me a flag or a symbol that I can relate to, and when I close my mind, I will continue to relate to that, and therefore I'm able to contemplate. Vani has nicely explained about the Rishaya. Who is a Rishi? The one who is able to transmit higher wisdom. Rishis seem to be having a modem by which they're able to download the signals, and all our Vedas have come through these Rishis who are able to download these signals, because essentially the Rishis hear those sounds, and those sounds are made into words, and that is how the whole Vedas have come into being. And the person who has classified and codified all these verses is Vyasa, who's also known as Dvaipayana Vyasa, the island born, one who's born in the island in the Yamuna River. The other word that Vani explained is Narada. Narada is not only the great Deva Rishi. Narada we need to see as Bhagavan. I have now come to being a vishwa, rupa, ishvara, bhakta. To become an arupa bhakta is difficult, and that I require Narada. Naram dadami. Naram means spiritual wisdom. Dadami is the one who gives me spiritual wisdom. So Bhagavan has to come to me as Narada to help me to move from a vishwa, rupa, ishvara bhakta to an arupa bhakta. Colonel Vijayan, verse 14, please.
Hari Om, Shri Gurubhyo Namah. Chapter 10, verse 14. In this verse, Arjuna confesses that the ignorance he had concerning Lord Krishna's transcendental potencies and absolute supremacy over all creations have been totally dispelled, and that everything Lord Krishna has declared is absolute reality and ultimate truth. Even the million demigods who are Lord Krishna's empowered servitors, administering universal management in every aspect of material existence, are unaware of his real identity, potencies, and manifestations. The verse reads, Sarvam etadritam maniye yanmam vadasi keshava nahite bhagwan vyaktam vidur devana danavaha. Keshava, O Krishna, manye, I consider, accept, sarva etat, all this, yad vadasi mam, which you tell me, Ridam, to be true. Because na deva na danavaha, neither the gods nor the demons viduhatya know your manifestations. Bhagwan, O Lord. O Krishna, I consider all this which you tell me to be true, because neither the gods nor the demons know your manifestations. The word Bhagwan, next slide, sir. The word Bhagwan used in this verse is defined in the Vishnu Purana. Parashara Muni, a great sage and the father of Vyasadeva, who compiled all the, gave the following definition. One means, so what are the opulence? They are wealth, strength, fame, beauty, knowledge, and renunciation. All these divine opulence is found in full within the person of Sri Krishna. The Devatas, Danavas, and Jivas all have finite abilities to understand. Hence, they cannot comprehend the full identity of Bhagwan. In verse 2 of this chapter, Lord Krishna has already stated that the demigods are not able to fathom his divine appearance. Suraganahami prabhavam na viduha. The demigods do not understand that Lord Krishna's divine manifestations are for protecting them and the righteous, and the demons fail to gauge that these divine manifestations are for annihilating them and the unrighteous. This brings me to a very interesting story from the Kena Upanishad. There was once a battle between Devatas and the Asuras. According to the story, Brahman helped the Devatas to achieve this victory over the Danavas. The gods became highly elated and attributed this victory to their capability and strength. They said, this victory is ours, this glory is ours. Brahman understood this and appeared before the gods as a spirit. Not knowing who this was, they sent Agni Devata to find out. And when Agni approached Brahman, Brahman asked Agni as to who he was. And to this Agni said, I am Agni, and the power to burn everything in the world. Then Brahman put a straw before Agni and asked him to burn it. Agni tried his best, but he could not burn the straw. Sad and beaten, he rushed back to gods and said that he could not find who the spirit was. Vayu, the lord of air, was sent next. The spirit asked Vayu as to who he was, and Vayu said, I am Matarasva, and have the power to carry off whatever is there on the earth. Brahman put a piece of straw before Vayu and asked him to blow it off. Vayu puffed and panted, but could not blow the straw away. Miserably failing in his, he returned back and said he could not find anything about the spirit. Lord Indra was the next on the line, and when he went to inquire, he found the spirit missing, and in place was a beautiful woman, highly adorned. She was Uma, the daughter of Himalayas. Indra approached her and asked her, who was this great spirit? To this she replied that it was indeed Brahman. It is through the victory of Brahman alone that they have earned this glory. Hence, if Devas could not understand him, how can Danavas and Manushas understand his glory and manifestation? At the microcosmic level, the Devas and the Danavas exist within us. Devas in the form of noble, mighty, brilliant thoughts of love, mercy, kindness, and Danavas as us. Hence, like Uma for Indra, we need the Shastras and the Guru to show us the Brahman within us. Hari Om. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for a nice explanation of this verse, where you have highlighted the importance of being egoless especially when it comes to receiving spiritual wisdom. When it comes to being able to receive spiritual wisdom, the more I'm able to accept the Lord to take over. I need to become a vishwa, rupa, ishvara, bhakta. And once I become an ishvara bhakta, I accept everything that the Lord gives. Here Arjuna is continuing to praise the Lord, and he says that even the devas do not know your true worth. The last verse for today will be explained by Bhaskar. Over to you, Bhaskar.
Yeah. Gurubhyo Namaha. The verse goes like this. Swayam eva atmana atmanam vetatvam purushottama bhuta bhavana bhutesha deva deva jagatpati. Well, in this sloka, with superlatives, Arjuna, with Lord of Benevolence, praises Krishna. And it is more than the previous verse, where he just says Keshava and Bhagavan. Now Arjuna showers different epithets of the Lord, revealing his glory. Arjuna begins by saying Purushottama, meaning pure consciousness, which is beyond matter. O Lord, you are not the physical body, what I see, but your body is an incidental vishwa. But the real you is nothing but pure consciousness. Chaitanya Swarupa, Chidrupa. Continuing, Arjuna exemplifies Bhuta Bhavana. Bhuta means all things and beings in the universe, and Bhavana means the avatar, the creator, sort of, Srishtikarta. Well, hey Krishna, you are the fundamental conscious principle from which alone material evolves and material creation devolves and dissolves in the consciousness. Therefore, Bhuta Bhavana. And Bhutesha, not only you are the creator of the world, you are also the controller of the world. Swami Paramatmananda says it is easy to create. Thereafter, you need to know how to manage it. That's the most difficult part. And Swami Paramatmananda very jokingly refers this to our children. Well, in fact, maybe when it is intense desperation, there are many times we think that we should not have had children at all. That's what he says. Well, a significant and relevant example is the genetic research and misfire of this latest evolution, the coronavirus. All of us know that this recent debacle has caused immense misery to mankind. Well, we once again believe that the human intelligence is no match or no potent to match the omnipotent Lord. Well, we cannot only create like the Lord does, but he can manage, maintain, and perceive. Therefore, O Lord, you're not only the Srishtikarta, but Deva Deva. You are the primal God, Lord of all gods, the controller of Devatas. And these Devatas are nothing but the Varuna, Indra, Vayu, which was mentioned in the previous verses. And he says, they control our lives, whereas you are the controller of all these Devatas. So further, Arjuna addresses Sri Krishna Jagatpati, meaning protector of the world, from those people who are trying to destroy the world. And whenever there is immense threat to the world, you yourself find other methods of protection. Therefore, Jagatpati. Well, recalling the first line of this verse, Swayam Atma Neva Viveta, which is an intriguing glitch, which means you alone know yourself completely. Well, Arjuna, in reverence, says, Bhagavan, you know everything in its entirety. Not because you have undergone training under a guru or the guru has imparted knowledge. You are a gnani yourself, sarvagna. Hence, you are the best person to tell me all the details. Well, practically speaking, God alone can know himself. Well, that's true because he is highly capable. But how can Jignasu know God? Well, it's so simple. It's being God yourself. You need to be God yourself because whatever an Arthasu or a Jiva cannot know himself. So you need to become a God yourself. And this has been quite often being repeatedly, frequently in our Vedas, in our Upanishads, is being always told that Aham Brahmasmi, the Mahavakyas, which has been always been trying to hammer us into this, that realize that you are your own, you are God yourself. Well, to make it very simple, there is Sri Ramakrishna Paramahansa giving us a very simple story of a salt doll. Well, it so happened that the salt doll came to know that its very origin or source was the ocean. So it believed that ocean is God. At one point of time, there was an urge and the doll jumped into the water to experience God. Well, you know, once it jumped into the water, into the ocean, it sank, it drowned itself. So inch by inch, the salt started dissolving. Well, at one point in time, there was no salt and the doll became the ocean. So it's nothing but the doll, not the ocean. It was the ocean itself. So this is what the ultimate thing of the moral of this story is. You become zero by discarding your identity and you will know yourself. It's so simple after this. Hari Om.
Thank you, Shri Bhaskar, for a nice explanation of this verse 15, where you explained each word that for us to know Bhagwan, we need your help. But you do not need anybody's help to know. Why? Because you are Purushottama. The 15th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita is titled Purushottama. And as you explained, and it comes again in the 15th chapter, where Sri Krishna says there are three things: manifest matter, unmanifest matter, and beyond the manifest and unmanifest, there is something called the Uttama Purusha or the Purushottama. There is one work of Adi Shankara which is recommended that we chant every day, that is Pratasmarami Tamasa Paramarka Varnam Purnam Sanatanamidam Purushottama. Every morning we need to declare that I am that Purushottama that Sri Krishna is talking about in the climax of the entire Bhagavad Gita in the 15th chapter. Here Arjuna is continuing to praise the Lord as Purushottama, Bhuta Bhavana. All of us have come from you, Bhutesha. You are the Lord. You are Deva Deva. What is this Deva Deva? Lord Shiva is also known as Mahadeva or Deva Deva, God of all gods. The word Deva also means sense organs. I'm able to see all of you because of my eyes. My eyes are able to see because of my mind. My mind is able to see because of consciousness. So the Deva of the Deva of my sense organs is consciousness. So consciousness or Mahadeva is Deva Deva or the Lord of all worlds. With that, we have come to the end of this class. And until verse 18, Sri Krishna will continue, Arjuna will continue to give this praising of Lord Krishna, because he now begins to ask what are the Vibhutis. And 18th verse onwards, Sri Krishna will begin to, the key of this chapter, the Vibhutis will start. We will listen to the chanting of these verses by Dr. Netra. Over to you, Dr. Netra.
Namaste. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Teshamhimanukampartam ahamajnanajam tamaha nashayamyatvamavastha jnanadipena bhasvata. Arjuna uvacha param brahma param dhama pavitram paramam bhavan purusham shashvatam divyam adidevamajam vibhum ahustvam rishayas sarve devashir naradastata
असितो देवलो व्यासः स्वयं चैव ब्रवीषि मे सर्वमेतद्रुतं मन्ये यन्मां वदसि केशव न हि ते भगवन् व्यक्तिं विदुर्देवानदानवाः स्वयम् एवात्मनात्मानं वेत्त्वं पुरुषोत्तमा भूतभावनभूतेश देवदेव जगत्पते हरि ओम श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः.
Thank you, Dr. Netra, for your melodious chanting. Thank you all speakers for your nice presentations, and Dr. Hegde sir for guiding us in learning today's verses. Thank you all for your undivided attention. We will come back with 5 more set of verses on Monday. As always, please log in by 6:45 p.m. on that day. Until then, Jai Shri Krishna. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om.